I would just like to warmly introduce one of my favorite GLOBE teachers, Audra Edwards.
Oh, thank you.
Who is definitely done some really great work with her students. And I am so happy that she agreed to do this because I think we have a lot to learn from you, Audra, with the work that you've done, bringing students to do the water quality measurements, and then to bring them to the Student Research Symposia, and then the international events with the GLOBE Learning Expedition, and then just GLOBE annual meetings and having students participate in those. So I really thank you for doing this and sharing your work.
No, absolutely. It's my pleasure to be here with you guys tonight. I actually teach at Hawkins High School, and my Hawkins students were not able to be here, and I only actually have one of my Harmony students here. So I work with two different schools, and Isaac is my son. And anyways, I asked him to help out with tonight's presentation. He's going to tell you a little bit about what they're doing at Harmony. And maybe later on I can get with Jen and we can have the Hawkins kids present what they're doing. Their projects are very similar. They both deal with water quality and hydrology. Yeah. And so anyways, Isaac is going to tell you a little bit about his project, and then I'm going to finish off, and just chime in every once in a while. So you just tell them a little bit about what you got going on.
All right. So we're good to start? Oh, okay, I guess we are. So as she stated, I go to Harmony, and it's a little small school. There's like 70 kids in my grade, and we're in little rural East Texas, which isn't all deserts and cacti everywhere. It's a little bit more Louisiana-esque, I guess you could say. And I am a junior. I'm 17 years old. I've been in GLOBE for 5-6 years, I think, something like that. And so I've done a vast variety of projects, and this is the one that is currently ongoing and that we have done for the last year and a half, I think, something like that.
Year and a half.
And two, we are having struggles. All right, and so this is just a little bit about me. You can see these are some pictures from East Texas and one of myself. And so we are very in touch with nature and agriculture and stuff like that. Matter of fact, outside of my school, there is a hill, and this is the school, and then down here there's 120 acres of farmland and ranch land, and there's all these rivers and lakes just about everywhere. And so this is some local flora and fauna we have. And so here you go, just a few more pictures. We spend a lot of time in nature, and so it's extremely important to us. Just preserving it. I mean, where we live, there are signs constantly everywhere, and it's please preserve the beauty and nature of our land. And so I guess I've kind of grown up just having that whole idea of wanting to conserve and preserve the beauty that we have right now for future generations. And so that's one of the things that really got me motivated to go into GLOBE. And so one of the things that we decided to do was hydrology. This is a very, very old photo, my goodness. And so basically we do a bunch of testing, and when we do our testing, we are looking for any kind of correlations between what we are testing, which I think comes up in a later slide, and that's why I'm being so ambiguous about it. But and so we test every protocol that I think we have available to us, and so that's pH, temperature, alkalinity, nitrates, conductivity, turbidity, just about everything, dissolved oxygen. And so we don't test with gauges. I don't think we're to that point yet, that would be awesome if we did. But we use these in little hand-on little tablets and stuff like that, which is really cool. And so our project is about it's basically about the likelihood of waterborne diseases spreading to rural and urban populations through contamination due to agricultural contamination, I guess you could say. But and so what we do is we study a bunch of different areas. We test Black Fork. I'm trying to think the other one. Sabine, Holly Lake, which is our recreational lake, and then we test I think like 2 other lakes. But each lake has a different quality that's specific to it, and we're hoping to find. We hope to find like correlations between all the different things, specifically in nitrates, fecal coliform. Those are our 2 biggest because nitrates and fecal coliform, those being present, are a high indicator of like animal waste and stuff like that. And fecal coliform specifically is like it's bad for you, and it can cause diseases. And so basically, we're trying to sort of avoid what happened back in the olden days. And so I read a synopsis of a book, and it was Guns, Germs, and Steel. And it was basically asking at one point the question of why was it that the factor that the plague went from the colonial ages to the colonial people to the Native Americans, but not the Native Americans to the colonists. Like there's never, you hear the diseases that just wreaked havoc on the Native American population, but there was never one that went in the opposite direction. And so to understand that, you have to understand a bunch of different factors that play into plagues. And our project is basically saying, hey, are those factors present in our area today? And then we also drew that out, and we tied it in internationally with some collaborations to see like what other areas, since East Texas is really, really thin. Excuse me. Got some. And so we do a lot of testing. This is, you have on the bottom left, you have Matthew, and then a little bit over to the right, 2 pictures, you have Matthew again, and some results of some unsafe testing. Basically, we tested for fecal coliform in, this was Black Fork, this was another creek, Prairie Creek. And in Prairie Creek, we had some of our worst results for fecal coliform, and this is upriver from a point source waste treatment plant, which would have, since it's upriver, we wouldn't have thought it would have had contamination. However, it is surrounded with agricultural hay fields and stuff like that, and so that is actually contaminated through non-point source runoff, which is the focus of our investigation. And so Matthew fell in, and it's a great story. He got scared by a horse, and then he thought Shane was going to push him in, and so he fell in, and it was crazy. Basically, the importance of testing safe. We have another, in the top left, we have a picture of us doing some testing at a chicken farm. But however, the chicken farm, it was a good source of like agriculture, but since we knew the owners and we knew the people, they follow regulations. They are very by the book kind of people. And so we did testing at their pond, and it showed and proved that when stuff is done the correct way, and they follow the regulations, then the negative effects that come from agricultural pollution or contamination can be like just quelled like exponentially. And so we took our whole project, and we took it to, I believe this is the Colorado one, isn't it? Yes, this was the Colorado Regional Science Fair. And so this was an awesome opportunity. We got to go to the University of Colorado at Metro, I believe. And we got to explore the city of Denver, meet a bunch of kids from all over the region, present our projects, and then also like listen to some other projects. Like there were some projects from Palestine, and they did some really cool stuff over like dissolved oxygen and turtle populations. And good job turning off your notifications. But it's really a great experience to get to go to these regional science fairs, because not only do we get to learn about the science that other people are doing and all that sort of stuff, we also get to we also get to do, we get to meet new people, and we get to experience like, it's sort of like subcultures, because people from Texas and Colorado are a little bit different. And it's nice to see people that usually, you only get to talk to on the phone like once every while or see on vacation. So make a lot of cool friends. You also get to see really cool environments. And so this was in Pikes Peak, and it's like May. It's May, and this is like mind-boggling to me because it's November and 32 degrees is like super cold. And so we went up in May to Pikes Peak, and there was like 14 foot of snow on there, and like we hadn't seen snow in like 2 years, and it was crazy. Some of the kids hadn't even seen snow, and so it's really interesting just getting like to test and to see like different ecological areas and stuff like that. And so we also went to Yale, and this is a bit of our little pit stop we took, and we got to see New York. New York was an incredible experience. All the guys loved it. It was just another one of those things that GLOBE ties in with science, but it also gets to show you so many different cultures as well. And so after our little pit stop, we went to the
Southern Connecticut.
The Southern Connecticut / Yale area meeting, and it was a really cool experience. We got to go to Thousand Islands. I learned about that's where they made ranch sometime, but also that's where like some really like important crab species are, and we did some really cool testing. We got to see a nature reserve. Was it a nature reserve? Mm-hmm. A nature reserve that like very few people are let in on, and hold on, I got some stories to tell. And so we got to present our project again there. This was our first year doing it, and so we weren't very far along with our data and everything like that. And so it was really cool to see that. We also got to meet people from Croatia. Was it Croatia? Mm-hmm. Croatia, India, everywhere. I think Brandon's still really good friends with the people from Croatia, and I think there was talks of a collaboration with them. And so that was really cool, meeting people from all over the world and seeing like the things that affect them and then the things that affect us, and seeing how just similar that they are, especially through GLOBE protocols, is really awesome. Should be excited. And so this is my mother's little escapade she did a few years ago. This is like one of the first things that you did. And so do you want to speak about it?
I got to actually travel to India and meet with some other schools that were doing GLOBE program over in New Delhi, and we got to travel around, and it was an amazing experience where we kind of built some relationships, and
really important relationships.
Yes, that have been ongoing. There with the East Point School, and then also the picture of the computer there. That is us Skyping with students that we do a collaboration with in Croatia. And I should say did. They have graduated.
They're like 6 years older than me.
Yeah, they're in medical school now. And anyways, it was a very awesome experience. My students actually, after they graduated, my students before Isaac, they traveled to Croatia and spent almost I think it was like 17 days with these girls. And that was outside of the GLOBE project. It was after, they had just built such strong relationships that they were able to go after graduation and visit with them and travel around. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of an amazing experience, but strong relationships that the kids have built through the international collaborations.
And hold on, another one of the really cool things about the international collaborations is that you can do it like once, or not like once, but you can start an international collaboration, and it's not just for like one project. Like it doesn't have to apply to the one thing. The really cool thing is that like this collaboration that we started with India and everything, it tied into 1, 2, I think 3 projects now. It's gone from bud bursting, was that the first one? Yeah. And then the second one was like a different type of
soil. We did
soil, and then we did mussels with them, and now we're on to doing I guess we're doing
the hydrology.
And so like they're a really good example for our project of a place that we think that it exhibits a lot of the factors where waterborne diseases can develop. And so getting to collaborate with them and see what their numbers exactly are and see how we compare to them. It's extremely, it's vital to our project, and it really can like open the eyes to people, because like otherwise our project would just be like, yeah, East Texas has clean-ish water, and that's about it.
Yeah,
but
it is really eye-opening for the kids to be able to
yes.
compare the water qualities. You know, with Croatia, it was very industrial. They had a lot of problems with their water.
Mm-hmm.
And we could gradually see how it was getting better over time. And then, of course, India, as you know, has always had issues with water quality due to overpopulation and pollution. And so it's great for the kids to be able to see, the students to understand the differences between, with all the regulations that are in place, you know, how to keep their water safe.
And then I also think it's really great for the kids that are from India to see, hey, this is what it could be. You know, like if we really strive for making this difference, then we can make positive change. And rather than just accepting their water for what it is and like their environmental situations for what it is, and just being able to see, hey, this could be this way. And so if it's done right. And that's really awesome. This is a little bit of the, is this East Point?
Yeah, this is East Point School.
This is East Point doing their collaboration. This is soil, right?
Yeah, this is where they were doing the soil testing there.
And then that wound up being the Adopt a Highway, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So did they start Adopt a Highway?
We actually reached out to them. They wanted to know when we were there and we visited with them what we would do here to help with our water quality. What could they do at their age? And so we visited with the students and we told them that, you know, to keep our watershed clean, one of the things that we did was we got involved with Adopt a Highway, and we told them about that, and we were able to get them interested in doing it, and we sent them the information about how often we did our Adopt a Highway program, you know, more of a community service, and not only knowing the science, but actually doing something, some type of service, you know, to help with the water quality. And so they started their own Adopt a Highway outside their school, and they still have the program going there, and it's an amazing thing. And we were able to get it established in a few other places like Benin, Argentina, and a few other schools. And we did France. We did not do Croatia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we try to get Croatia involved. But anyways, and the really neat thing about that story is that our students here, the Hawkins students, were able to create a video, and that video was recognized by the White House, and the kids were invited to go and meet the President of the United States. And that was before Isaac, but it was a pretty amazing experience. But it all stemmed from just community service and the kids' knowledge about GLOBE. And it was just really incredible how it all came about. But very fortunate to have that experience.
And so with our project, we're not just like seeking to be like not just like raising awareness about like the factors that we have and like how to keep the water clean and like what areas are places of risk. We're also like reaching out to our government officials, Mr. Louis Gilmert, who is a part of the Texas Senate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, he's United States Senator.
Oh, United States Senator. My bad. And so we've reached out to him to like just, I guess, to really like take our findings and implement them into like regulations and stuff like that, and so that they become really effective. And then also we've reached out to is he a U.S. representative? Or
he's Texas.
Texas. Okay.
Cole Hefner.
Cole Hefner, our Texas representative in the Texas legislation. And so we also, this last summer, we got to go to the 22nd annual GLE in Killarney, Ireland, which was an absolutely amazing experience. it was a chance to see a beautiful country, and to test in a totally different, almost different hemisphere, and just like really see how far like our science can go, and some great collaboration opportunities. It was an awesome experience. That was and so that was really cool. So yes, Killarney Island was an amazing experience. GLE was. And so earlier I was speaking about the Black Fork Creek and some of the Black Fork Creek, and what was the other one? Prairie Creek. And so they are in the same watershed. Black Fork is directly downstream from a point source runoff that is a water treatment plant. And so that was a really good, it was as a subject of our study, just to see if contamination in the area was from that, or if it, with Prairie Creek being factored in as well, if it was from non-point source, sort of agricultural contamination. And so this happened 6 months, or was it 6 months, or was it like about a year before we tested Black Fork. We saw some really, really bad results, like some extremely concerning results. And we kind of started doing some awareness and stuff and everything. And after that, we got some public officials came out and they said, after like testing it themselves and stuff, and so you can see the headline: the public should avoid contact with waste material, soil, or water in the area potentially affected by the spill. And so there was a spill in the Black Fork Creek, and basically you can tell that it's very contaminated, and they concurred with our
it was
search.
it was really neat for the kids because we were aware of the situation before any of the public officials were aware of it. And then it, went and it made huge news around here about the water being contaminated.
Yeah.
And so it was neat for the kids because they were kind of, like, this is what we've been telling you about. And so, anyways, it just kind of validated their research. Okay, so this is a little bit, I put this last slide on here if anybody wanted to go look at it. This is about the collaborations that we have been successful at and how we got started in doing collaborations. And anyways, this is this was put out by GLOBE, and I just kind of snagged that picture and put it on here. That's Brian Campbell's little boy, and Andy. Yeah. And anyways, but down there at the bottom, you can see I have wrote a blog post, and it talks about different things that would help to make a collaboration successful that I have found throughout time. There's a lot of, trial and error with collaborations. And so, just one of those things to be aware of when you're going into it. One of the things what works the best, what doesn't work. And then also one of the things that I would recommend if you're starting out with a new collaboration is maybe joining an existing GLOBE campaign, because they've already kind of worked through all the kinks, and that would be a good way to get started. So anyways, but it's a short article, but it's listed the hyperlink there if you want to go and look at that. It's just, there's some I guess maybe 10 to 15 tips that would help. So anyways, Jen, I think that's all I've got.
I have a load of questions for you.
Okay. All right. We're ready.
But does anybody online have any questions first before I dominate?
Oh, that'll work.
Yeah. That way people can see.
This is Larissa. I just want to thank you for a wonderful presentation. Very enthusiastically presented, very contagious enthusiasm. So thank you. Just really a fantastic presentation. Just really enjoying listening and learning and in awe what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know how to.
All right. Well, I'll ask one of my questions.
All right.
Okay. So this is hopefully going to be also out to the SRS teachers. So that's how we'd like to distribute it. And Audra, you are really experienced in helping students. do these presentations, create their posters, come up with the research questions from basically from the beginning to the end. So from one teacher to another, so as you as an experienced teacher, for somebody that's starting out, what is kind of that first step? That there's tons of logistics, right? You've got students going into the field, you've got them going places, you have them coming up with these research questions and working really hard on these poster presentations. So out of all of the things that you do, is there one thing that you would say, this is definitely something we had to deal with in the beginning, and it's probably the largest challenge, and this is how I overcame it? See, I told you. I was
question. Okay. Wow. I would think mine is just, boy, when you first start out, that hands-on experience is so important. Them actually getting in there and realizing this is real data that they're collecting, and people are actually looking at it, and just having them catch that enthusiasm, from right off of, I think that's so important. If you're excited about it, they're going to be excited about it, And so I just think it just being authentically excited about what you're doing, and as far as like the challenges,
speaking.
Yeah, speaking
is probably one of the biggest things.
Yeah, with the kids, the students.
Yeah, the kids. Because when it comes to like presenting and everything, I feel like that's probably one of the most like stressed things. Speak well, do good. Really cover your material correctly, and make sure that you are able to answer the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, I think the other like really big thing is just like when you initially form that hypo, like what is my project going to be? And I feel like that's difficult, because it's like you have all these great ideas. You're like, oh, I want to be like these scientists and do this like huge like project about how like urban growth and sprawl, like how it affects like the watersheds in the area. But then you got to sit there and you got to think, is that testable with our GLOBE protocols, and is that even like reasonably like achievable with our group? And so I feel like that's one of the really big things. It's just like like understanding what you can test with like who you are.
Oh yeah, we have thrown out several ideas that oh, let's do that. Oh wait, how do we do that kind of thing? And then trying to simplify it down to what we could actually measure and test. And
getting so cold hard data.
Yes.
Yeah, and finding cold hard correlations.
And is that a conversation that you have, or do you mainly let them work it through themselves?
Well, let me just tell you this project with Harmony is so much, because we have one boy, the chicken farm. Yes. He lives on that chicken farm. He works the chicken farm. And it's kind of like it has presented itself. What were they interested in, and what did they want to know about? And so he had read the book. The other boy lived at a chicken farm. It was just one of those things. It was more
trial and error.
It was more them picking what they wanted to explore and what they wanted to do. And I think that if I had pushed them in a direction, I don't know that I would have had them having that same desire. Because he came up with the idea of just, at the agricultural end of it. And then the other school that I have, Hawkins, they're doing theirs more on industrial, the damage from industrial waterways and how it pours into the watershed and versus the recreational lakes. Mm-hmm. And so, so both schools, both group of boys have kind of just decided where they wanted to go and the direction they wanted it to follow.
And I think it's a lot of like trial and error for us to do. Cause like if your kids will most likely know like what's testable and what's not, because after a while they'd be like, I don't know how to, like, what are we looking for here? And so I think as long as like you sort of like give them a little nudge, hey, that's not possible. But if the idea is good enough and it's a really quality topic, then I think just like the testing and but like the testing and the ways and the procedures and protocols that should be used will sort of present themselves in a way. And so if you have a really good idea and it's sort of hard to test, I'd say don't run from it. I'd say just like, think out of the box. Like what ways can we start isolating variables and drawing correlations?
The other thing about that, both of the schools, both their ideas are for research, the agricultural and the industrial waterways, both have been, where they could be worldwide. Whenever we talk to India, they are struggling with the same issues. And then also with Croatia, theirs was very much industrial. And so when we had discussions, we had that common thread between us of what we were talking about. So, we had some other research ideas before, but it wasn't like where we could collaborate with those other schools and talk about those same issues, where we've been able to do that.
And how about, go ahead.
No, you were going to say something.
Yes.
How about logistics in terms of getting students to the study sites? Was that something that was a challenge, or was that pretty well supported? I know that you have probably an advantage in that you've been doing this for a number of years and have relationships with your administrators already. And
let me just tell you, we are very fortunate on our campus. We have a creek, we have a pond, we are 2 miles from the lake. I mean, we have the Sabine River, which is 1/4 of a mile from the school. So we are surrounded by all kinds of water places in his school.
So at my school, we are like, we're close to the ranch and everything, but the ranch necessarily, they're a little bit more closed off. And so that's not our focus of testing. We don't have a whole lot of support from our administration.
They don't.
And so ours has been a lot of really, really like extracurricular on our own time. And so it's definitely difficult sometimes to find like the right, like when's the right time for everyone to come. And sometimes you just have to be like, all right, we're just going to take as many people as we can and then we're going to do it. But I think as long as you find a really good group of people that all really like gel together, and then they'll be able to like work it out themselves, because if they really want to do it.
One of the things that's really nice is the age of the kids now. They've all where they're driving, and so yeah, they're actually. The great thing is they know the protocols now. They know how to collect the data, and they are going out and getting the stuff by themselves actually quite often. And especially, one boy lives at the chicken farm and we're using his pond. So that one's pretty easy. Just walking out the door and getting it.
The other lake's like 20 feet, not 20 feet, like 500 feet down the road over here.
Yeah.
And so probably the hardest one to test is like our Black Fork Creek.
Yeah, the one at the sewage treatment plant. It's a drive.
That's 30 minutes away. That's down some really random back roads, and you gotta do some really testy sort of stuff, go under a bridge. But
I don't think our challenge, we don't have the same challenge, Jen, that India has. A lot of their things, with the kids being able to go to the lake. Their Lake Sanjay, the one that they're testing, is not in a good part of town, and they have to go with their teachers, and it's very chaperoned, and so they're limited on how much they can do.
Yeah.
Where our kids, jump on the golf cart and run down there and get the water, samples, and it's not a big deal for us. But with them, they do have some issues with going to get that information. Yeah. Croatia has not had any problems with getting, that they were able to get all the information and everything like that. So
yeah, and I think probably the biggest thing that helps, like overall, like no matter what your situation is just like how close your site is, because if it's just down like the road, then and it presents itself to you, then the testing just becomes like really easy and really, really simple to do. But if it's farther away and it's a really good site, then I wouldn't say shy away from it. Just expect to have some difficulties occasionally getting everyone there, or just finding the time to go over there.
Yeah, the thing is trying to be consistent on the time that we go, and trying to get the, you know, those variables to all be the same. It's kind of that's the difficult thing.
Yes. Oh, we have 2 questions.
Oh, shall I go? This is Rich. Yeah, I was wondering about, maybe I will have to go back and look at your YouTube or the link for the collaboration, but a quick question about that. I know you've been to some other examples like the GLE, but I think I saw Isaac. Were you at the one at Estes Park?
Yes, I was.
And I think I saw you interviewed. I saw the video, so I wasn't there, but I saw you as one of the stars of the video. So, but anyway, I'm just comparing. You know, I think one of the cool things about that video was kind of how people from all over kind of come together with a common language of science. So I was wondering if you could just compare kind of that short, intense collaboration that you did versus kind of some ongoing collaborations that you've done that's able to last for a longer time.
So just like the Estes Park one compared to the long term.
Oh, okay. So the Estes Park one was really good. It was a lot. So like the Estes Park one was like sharing a lot of data, being there all like at once and everything. And so it was good. It was really good. And then the more long distance ones, I guess you kind of form more of like a relationship and then a routine of doing things. And so like the sharing of data becomes easier and easier and easier. And so
one of the things that's really cool about the kids is the social media, you know, and we encourage that. Whenever I take my kids with me to anything, I'm like, guys, seriously, if you can Instagram or you can Facebook with these kids and make those connections, because it's so much easier for them, like in the, you know, like at 11 o'clock at night, hey, you want to get together and we can and exchange data and we can talk about what's going on, and they do it, and then they let me in on when's a good time for all the kids to get together and talk. I mean, it's just, it works out so much easier. So whenever I take my kids to a conference, I really encourage them to reach out to all the schools and try to just, you know, make those friends, you know, and, you know, because that's really, honestly, if you want to talk about my tips for collaboration, that would be like huge at the top, is when you go to these conferences is to connect.
Yeah.
With somebody, you know, don't sit there with your own little group, just to be social and get out and meet people and talk, because they're bringing so much knowledge of things that you don't know about their area, where they live and stuff like that. And so, you know, and thankfully the kids have done that. You know, they're all of them are little social bugs, and so it's worked out really well. You know, and so we have that conversation before we go to the conference, and I encourage it, and it seems to really pay off. So, I mean, and really the ones, the East Point and the Croatia, and even Benin and France, we met all those kids at conferences. Mm-hmm. And so we, you know, as far as using the GLOBE website, there's some great things to connect with other groups. Mm-hmm. However, I haven't experienced that. Mine has all been through the conferences and making those connections that way, and making, you know, starting collaborations from there.
Yeah. And so and like getting to experience those little like short, like the little short, like Estes Park little collaboration, you always going to hear like I remember the girls from Oman and like how them talking about how much different like Estes Park was from where they came from, and they had done hydrology research, and so like getting to hear how much different theirs is, like it kind of like it instills this like little bit of curiosity, and so you're like, hey, I would love to see some like actual like some like more span out like data from them, and just see like how our place and their place like it compares. So
Isaac's going to be on the committee that they formed for Detroit. He's doing like the student. I don't know what are they calling it?
The student committee of the committee.
I don't know what it is, but it's just talking about getting together and how they're going to, I guess, do their poster presentations, the student experience. And so that's one of the things that he's hoping that he can, you know, talk with them about, you know, hopefully
what's effective.
Yeah.
What's really, really effective. And that's like those little, like those hands-on experiences, and like getting to actually like test with people from like all over the world and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think because like if you talk about what they enjoyed the most about all these conferences that they've had the opportunity to go to, it is those hands-on things. You know, it's like,
getting to experience like the different like the environment and like everything, because the conferences are always in like really awesome like cool places. And so like even like southern Connecticut, like, and then like you don't think of Connecticut as like being someone that's like necessarily super diverse, but like getting to see Thousand Islands, like I would never would have thought that was Connecticut. I would have thought more of like city and Wash and all that sort of stuff, but it was absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And
Thousand Islands was amazing.
Awesome.
A great student experience.
I held a crab. It was cool. And so, any other questions? Yes.
I envy you because and I listen with my ears and eyes and heart open. Honestly, social media, I'm a bit jealous because in our schools here in Massachusetts are much more restricted in terms of using social media. So it's honestly, I don't know, maybe it's just my experience. I'm working with schools in Massachusetts, but it's just there is a taboo. Basically, students cannot use Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or WhatsApp or any of those social media. So they basically limited to very basic collaborative tools, and it's just really sad because it really slows down the collaborative process.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how you resolve that. Is it across the board, or you have privilege?
Well, so I was actually going to bring this up when she said something about that. I forget the kid's name. I was doing like that weird, like, what's his name? But Shane and Matthew, my two other partners, they became really good friends with, I can't remember his name. I feel terrible. He was from Saudi Arabia, or was he from?
Oh, I don't know.
Bahrain, I don't know. But they became really good friends with him, and he didn't have like any social media at all. But what he did have is he had email, and so they became like sort of like little pen pals and stuff. And so not only that, but like as teenagers, I don't know necessarily about up there, just sort of like building the relationship outside of collaboration. They had like, he had a PlayStation or he had an Xbox, and they had an Xbox. And so they could actually like talk like through their little gaming stuff and everything. And so
kids can find a way.
Yes, we find ways. And so, but even like something as simple as like Gmail or Yahoo email or anything like that. I think if the want for the relationship to grow is there, then usually that is enough. It does inhibit it sometimes. Like it's easy to get on and just be like, oh, look at that photo that person testing on Instagram or something. But I think like Gmail is sufficient, and I definitely feel for you because like it is like Instagram is very good about that, and Facebook and everything, just like really like building relationships and stuff.
You know, one of the things that I also stress to the kids is that they're chosen, and I'm very strict about who I take with me, and you know, that the morality is good, and that we make good choices.
You are an example of your school, your state, your entire country.
Yes.
So Audra, for you as a mother and for you as a teacher, do you have to go, do you have like a special form, release form, like for parents of those students to sign and to really be, because here we're very limited because a lot of concerns about liability issues and things of that nature. So is there a form that you use or any of those?
Well, I will tell you this, coming from a small community, I think it is one of those things that I am just fortunate to have some freedoms that we get, and we're just trusted to make good decisions. I do have some, parent field trip forms, but they're very standard. They're not anything.
Sure.
And I've taken kids, around the world three times now, and twice to India and to Ireland. And I have just had the backing of my school district and the community. And I will tell you this, having the experiences I've had, having it in the press and the newspaper, and then having it on the television,
your reputation,
the kind of like that it's one of those deals that, wow, we're doing this, and it's supported by the community and supported by the school administration, and it makes them look good, and so everybody's happy. It's one of those things. Parents are excited their kids are involved with GLOBE.
And people are asking like less questions. I guess for us at least, people ask less of like, oh, but is this going to happen or is this going to happen? It's more like, hey, can we join? Can we join? Can we join? It's like people like just clamoring to get in, sort of a thing. And so there's less of those little blocks, I guess we have.
And the only thing is like, well, fortunately, I have come into having some money so I can buy more equipment, but it was one of those things where I was writing and requesting like grants through Dixon and some trying to get the stuff together to do testing, because I was very limited on my my hydrology water quality testing stuff. And so I was limited, because like it would be great to take 90 kids out and have them all part of GLOBE and doing stuff, but I was just so limited on what I had. And so so that really has cut down on how much I could do. And one of the neat things that I will say that we have done in the past is we have had it at the high school, the middle school, and the elementary school, and just kind of building a program all the way through the school district. But it's a select group of kids. It's not it's not all the way through the school. Yeah,
and it's the cream of the crop too.
It is.
Like
I got it. Thank you. And by the way, you touched upon the question that I don't know if I'm cutting other questions off. I'm using this time freely, it looks like. So the teachers who are just starting in this year, and last year we had a bunch of new teachers, they were concerned about not having enough funds to purchase the lab equipment. So you address that. So it looks like you don't have any magic solution to that.
I have we have gone out and done some corporate sponsors, and this year actually, I will tell you this, it is finally taken hold of what we're doing. And this year we've had more success on raising money, which will go towards buying more equipment. He was talking about the electrical probes and stuff like that. And that is my goal. Is right now we have raised about $4,000, and a big portion of that for GLOBE is going to go towards buying equipment. So I saw some really fancy stuff at the last GLOBE GLE meeting, and I'm itching. I'm itching to get that stuff. So, but that corporate sponsorship is from XTO, ExxonMobil. And the way I understand it, it's kind of, one of those deals that I asked for it. It's taken almost a year for us to get that money. And so it's just one of those things, I think, reaching out to some corporate sponsors and kind of tell them. And plus, like I said before about having things in the newspaper, that really was helpful when I could walk in there and show them all the stuff that we had done, as far as getting some sponsorship. So
excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, I have a question. This is Tracy.
Hey.
Hi. Yeah, ExxonMobil, man, they are just peanuts, right? They're small guys, so I'm sure it takes a lot to squeeze money out of those guys.
Right. And they have a plant here in Hawkins.
Yes.
So right
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah.
I used to work with Exxon and here in California, and they're not here anymore because of the environmental.
Right, right.
Anyway, my question is, so I solely work with inner city kids, right? So my kids don't have a lot of worldly experiences. If they get out of the county, that's a big deal,
Yes.
let alone never been on a plane. And I remember the first couple SRSs, you know, none of the kids had ever been on a plane before when we went down to JPL. So that's the background. And my question is, they're scared. They are petrified at the SRS, and getting them to even think about going to an annual meeting is just so beyond their thought process, right? I'm thankful that I can get them to the SRSs. So could social media be a way, if they knew the other kid, you know, if they knew they were going to go interact with kids that they know through social media, is that possible? And you know, what would be the bridge there that has to be built?
I think that would be a great idea, is to have those. Sorry,
My bad.
social media right there.
Actually, it's my homework alarm.
Homework alarm. Okay, that's even better. Why don't you answer that question?
Like if like kids could engage with social media beforehand, if that would get to know the people beforehand, if that would
I'm just thinking, I'm trying to, you know, how do I motivate them to say, hey, Detroit is not that far away, guys. Mm-hmm. You can do this, right? Kind of stuff. And you know, take the steps, because I've got just some just wonderful groups, like, you know, you were mentioning, you know, they're excelling at this, and they've never had this experience before. They get to the SRS, they're petrified. They get through it, and that's the best part of the SRS, is they just like, wow, I was really scared, but there was nothing to be scared about. Mm-hmm. So getting them to that next level.
Yeah, and so I think especially like building relationships with like the people, I guess the other students, you could say, like that'll make them more eager to like go there and be like, oh, I can finally meet that person, you know, like I've always like talked to them and like, I want to meet that person. Mm-hmm. And so and then like also I think one of like, especially for the groups that have experience, one of the most like nerve-wracking thing is like, I'm gonna go present my project in front of like scientists and stuff, and like they're gonna ridicule me and all this like stuff, and I'm gonna like, they're gonna tell me how dumb I am, and it's like just like all these like false fears that you kind of like build up in your head. And I think especially like just getting to know there and like meeting those kids and really like engaging with the kids and just being like, you know what, I'm presenting to them and they're my friends, and so like no matter what happens, you know, like I'll have that relationship with them, and I think that's just like a really critical part, is just knowing that like everyone's going to be like supportive and everyone's going to really think like you are an absolute star if you go there. And so I think that's like a really good thing. It's just like, you know,
yeah, and I see that. I've seen the interaction with the kid, you know, with the kids that attend. I just see the smiles. I see the comfort level. I guess what I'm struggling with is getting my inner city kids to realize that it's worth the effort. Like, how do I get them to feel like this is something they can do? What can we do to empower these kids to get them to want to take that effort to go to an annual meeting?
Okay, so I think one of the biggest things for me and my group is that like my sister and her group, they were like sort of like the first ones, and they really persevered. And so just seeing like all like the incredible accomplishments that they had and like all the friends that they made, and sort of like getting to take like a backseat and just like watching that. And so I think like a huge thing is like your alumni and like the experiences that they've had, if they can affect the generation before them, and then they just like this group will go from like hey, I don't want that to, oh my goodness, this is a cool way I can make friends and everything. And because the alumni are going to tell them the blunt truth of, you know what, you're going to go up there, you're going to be nervous and you're going to be scared, but then after that, you're going to have the best time of your life. And so I think the biggest thing is just being able to talk to people that have done it. And so if you have like alumni or alumnuses or whatever the plural is of alumni that have done it, then just like sort of getting them to continue to affect the younger groups.
Yes. Well, and I will tell you this, we are really fortunate because our high school, our middle school, and our elementary are all feed into each other, and they're all on the same campus. So the kids all know each other, and so they are all aware of what the kids' success has been before them. And so they like, if any of them have educational inspirations, they have all watched these other kids be so successful at GLOBE and how it has impacted them so positively that our kids, it's like what they want to go. They want to have that on their resume. And I don't know that you're going to have that with the inner city school. I don't know if they want, I mean, are they wanting to pursue, you know, furthering their education? Because our kids really did want that and do want that. For instance, I had two girls that went on before, and one has got a full ride to Texas A&M University, and she won the Terry Foundation scholarship, which would
be really cool for me to get. Like, that's like one of the motivating factors for me. But I think even then, like just seeing like her name was Madison, and so like seeing like the friends that like Madison made and everything, and like Madison, I guess it's just like something that like we seeing how much success they had and all like the fun they had, we like really take the alumni, the alumnus, whatever it is, and just like we put them on a pedestal and we want to achieve that sort of a thing.
So do you think it would be possible to set up, and I'll just say Zoom, you know, some kind of Zoom where students, even who are going to the SRS, get a chance to students who have already been to the SRS. They're on their third try or whatever, you know, or their third year.
That'd be great.
Or even from, you know, students like, hey, yeah, I've been to our regional one, but really what's cool is this annual meeting thing. So what you guys can do is, you know, if you enjoy meeting new people and blah, 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 blah at your SRS, think of the possibilities when you meet people internationally at these kinds of events. Okay, so Isaac, are you interested in participating, you and your team? And I'm just saying as a potential, I don't even know if any of this would even work, but I'm just saying. Getting some of those, you know, kind of experienced voices in that kind of realm.
I think that'd be a really cool thing. I'll have to talk to them, but I'm sure they'd be on board.
Right. And I'm just, you know, I'm picking you just because you're on the you're on the call right now.
Totally.
But
I think it's a great idea. I mean, to build that enthusiasm, you know, that they're excited about coming. One of the things that I saw this last year, and just personal experience, my daughter Allison, she was on the technology working group with GLOBE, and she was put in charge. I don't know what they called it exactly, but she did like a reach out before the conference began, the GLE began in Ireland. And what she did was she reached out to all the students. Now, Allison is in college, okay? So she's not much older than Isaac. She's 20 years old. And anyways, but she reached out to all those kids, and they did emails. I think that's all they did. I don't think they did any really social media. But she talked about, you know, cultural, what they would be bringing, you know, just like that, made that connection, right? And so like everybody was looking for Allison when they got to the conference. I mean, she had made so many connections already, just that little bitty, you know, I mean, it wasn't much. It was a couple of emails back and forth, but all those kids came with that, you know.
I got it. Yeah.
And so I think it could be so easily done.
Got it. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
like just a simple email reach out to the kids. Yeah, okay. That's a good idea.
Okay, it's 7:08.
I'm sorry. I'm a talker.
And I would love to keep going. But it's 7:08 and that's in Texas.
Oh yeah. Oops.
So it's a little bit later. We're in the East Coast and a little bit earlier in the Pacific, right?
Thank you.
And we've already run over, so I'm going to have to call it. But
Okay, well, we had a wonderful time. I hope that we were able to just come across about our excitement about GLOBE. I mean, we just love the program. We love being part of it. We appreciate Jen and everything that she does. And
You're awesome.
Yeah.
and we appreciate you and everything that you've done and your legacy of you and your husband and your children, and it's just incredible what you've done.
It's a family thing. It really is.
I'm just gonna say, like, hats off to y'all spending like almost an entire hour listening to us ramble on. That's impressive. I'm like,
No, it was a joy. It's just really, yeah, one of the best presentations ever I saw, honestly. With all due respect to others, I love them all, but your presentation really stood out for me.
Well, thank you very much again.